Scott, welcome to the show. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you fine. I apologize for running late there, but as you said, it's my day's no longer my day. I don't own it.
Yeah.
No, well, everyone wants your expertise, and for good reason. You warned the world about the lie that was the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and that they did not have them. Congress didn't listen to you, the world didn't listen to you, and then millions of people died as a result of this. So now we're sitting here watching Israel saying we had to defend ourselves. We struck the Natanz nuclear facilities. Radiation is falling out. We had to do it because Iran was days away from a nuclear weapon, and they did it right before nuclear talks on Sunday. How did we get here?
Well, we got here because the United States of America could never reconcile the fact that we lost an ally in Reza Shah Pahlavi back in 1978-79. We got here because of our support for Reza Shah Pahlavi. The people of Iran viewed the United States as an enemy. In a moment of passion, students captured the U.S. Embassy, held American hostages for hundreds of days, and it led to a failed rescue mission that had 8 American bodies left on the sands of the Iranian desert. We've never forgiven Iran for our failure there. It happened because of our intervention in Lebanon, where Iranian-backed militias blew up a Marine barracks, killing 241, 242, 203. I can't remember the exact number, American Marines, soldiers, sailors. We've never forgiven for that. We got here because we illegally invaded and occupied Iraq, and Iran supported the Shia of Iraq to resist this, and hundreds of Americans were killed because they were fighting Iranian-backed militias. We've never forgiven Iran for that. We got here because we've allowed our prejudice against Iran to be exploited by the Israelis to the point where we have denied Iran the right to have nuclear enrichment capability that was permitted under Article 4 of the Nuclear Nonproliferation Treaty, which Iran is a signatory to and has adhered to inspections, but Israel is not. We've got to this point where we've embraced Israel's regime change policy focus on Iran so that we don't know how to live peacefully in coexistence with Iran, and we've been seeking to remove the Iranian regime through sanctions and by using, intelligence-driven uprisings inside Iran. We got here because we've made ourselves incompatible to the existence of the Iranian government, and we've embraced without hesitation Israeli policy. So, there's no logic behind what we're doing here. This is basically just, one bad policy stacked upon another that's been shared by administrations, Republican and Democrat alike. And until we learn how to think of Iran as a nation that we can peacefully coexist with, and we're not threatened by the fact that it's governed by a Shia theocracy, we'll always be susceptible. And until we can distance ourselves from Israel and allowing Israel to dominate our national security priorities in the region, this kind of conflict is inevitable.
Now, I want to ask you about the burden of proof, because we have had our Archduke Ferdinand moment already. Israel said they had the weapons. We knew it. The IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Association, said, yeah, they're not in compliance. That's the rule. And that was based on a vote. Iran released documents showing that the IAEA was political, as if we needed that proof. We talked, you and I and Clayton, when the IAEA, Rafael Grossi, went to the Zaporizhia power plant in Ukraine and said, yes, there are bombs here. Can't tell where it comes from. When Russia had proof that it came from Ukraine, we knew that they were political stooges. And so has the burden of proof now been put to bed? It doesn't even matter anymore because the war is off to the races.
Well, it does matter. I mean, it matters for a number of reasons. First of all, it matters because we are going to get into a debate going forward about the legitimacy of Israel's actions. Already you're seeing pushback around the world as what Israel did, this Pearl Harbor moment, as Colonel McGregor so rightfully and articulately said. It's a violation of international law. It violates everything the world's supposed to stand for in terms of conflict prevention. And it's predicated on a lie. I have said, and I've been on record saying this, that Iran is somewhat to blame for what's happened here because they have waved the red flag in front of the Israeli bull. They have gone beyond that which is explainable under their peaceful nuclear program to enrich uranium to 60%. And when asked why, and I asked this to Iranian officials, they said it's because we want to be seen as a threshold state. That means that a state that could, if pushed, cross the threshold into being a nuclear weapons state. That's unacceptable under anybody's terms. So Iran created this, even though everything Iran did was legitimate and legal under, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. They in responding to the irresponsible policies of the United States and Israel, they helped create the conditions where Israel could justify its actions, saying that Iran is just one step away. But Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, and I don't believe Iran will pursue nuclear weapons, even though they have said that if Israel attacks its nuclear facilities, they could very well do so. But the IAEA is also to blame here because they've been played like a fine-tooth fiddle by the United States and Israel. I know for a fact that when I was a weapons inspector in the United Nations going into Iraq, that Israel played a very important role in providing intelligence information that was designed to paint the Iraqis in the worst possible light. How do I know? Because I spent 4 years traveling to Israel working with Israeli intelligence on these issues, nuclear, chemical, biological, missile, and I know the role Israel played. I also know for a fact that American inspectors on the ground gather information that is very useful for targeting the inspected sites. And how do I know? Because the data that was collected while I was inspector was shared by others with U.S. Central Command and used to launch weapons against Iraq. So we know that the IAEA has inspectors in Iran, who have gathered sensitive information about the technical layout and the physical characteristics of Iran's site that were used by Israel to strike. That's condemning. And we also know that the IAEA has allowed itself to be used politically. For instance, this report that was put out by the Director General, the Board of Governors, Iran is not in non-compliance. This report is ridiculous on the face of it because every single point it's made, first of all, doesn't point to the existence of an Iranian nuclear weapons program. It shows that there's a technical issue of dispute between Iran and the IAEA and the IAEA won't allow or won't accept Iran's explanations. But there's nothing about the things that have been pointed out that point to a weapons program.
So, Scott, there's a lot of maybe misinformation maybe floating around out there, and people in our chat are saying there's no radiation fallout.
And this, you'll appreciate this super chat. This is above your pay grade. This is
my pay grade. Yeah, Joe Biden.
That was what Biden said
to you. That's what Biden told you. That's what Biden told you.
That's what Joe Biden said about you.
This is above your pay grade, Scott.
I don't dispute. I mean, it's curious because people that said that before Biden were Madeleine Albright, Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Defense said that. These were the two people that wouldn't appear with me in the Senate hearing because they knew that I knew the truth. Truth has no pay grade. I don't mean to be mean to the person in the super chat, but I won't say the word because I respect.
Oh, I think that's a joke. I think that they're pointing out
if it's
that
a joke,
you
then
have proven.
I'll laugh at it. Yeah,
yes.
I thought it was,
I don't think they actually mean it anymore. They're pointing out that we were effed by not listening to you the first time.
Yes, we were effed because they didn't listen to you the first time. But I want to ask you about the radiological fallout, if there's any fallout. So according to Iran, the Natanz site that was struck, Iran confirms that radioactive radiation, their words, not mine, has been recorded as a result from this attack, and they are trying to contain it. So here is the Israeli graphic on their attack. So Israel released this, this graphic. The IDF released this graphic to show us all. So they, of course, been planning this for a long time. So what does this mean? They struck this facility. As Colonel McGregor pointed out earlier, this facility was not terribly dug in. It was more of a smaller facility than some of the other facilities. And Iran says radioactive radiation has been recorded out of containment. So what does that mean in your expertise?
These facilities are used to enrich uranium, and the vehicle of enrichment are centrifuges that are fed uranium hexafluoride. Uranium hexafluoride will you basically take the raw yellow cake and then you'll turn it into a gas and you'll spin it and you'll start to separate the isotopes. And what you're looking for is uranium. I think it's U-236. I could be wrong on that. Maybe don't quote me on that. You're trying to get a higher concentration of a specific isotope, and so you run it through the centrifuge, and you get increasing levels. So the gas is in the centrifuges, and it gets captured in a vessel, a containment vessel, and that containment vessel can then be used to feed it in for using. There is residual tails and other things. By attacking this the Natanz facility. What's happened is this uranium hexafluoride, enriched to whatever level that is there, has been released from its containment vessel, and so you have radioactive contamination. This isn't the equivalent of what's going on in a nuclear reactor, et cetera, but it is hazardous to life. It can cause radiation exposure, et cetera. And it's the reason why the world community has said that you don't attack nuclear facilities. Israel has violated that red line, and it appears that they have damaged or destroyed centrifuge cascades and their associated uranium hexafluoride feed to the extent that you have, radiation in the wild.
How bad is this going to get, Scott?
Well, I mean, I don't know, exactly. I think we just saw 3 waves of Iranian missile attacks that appeared to strike Israel, and Israel having virtually no capacity to defend itself against these attacks. They shot down some missiles, but many missiles hit their target. If Iran is able to continue strikes of this nature, Israel is a sitting duck. We also saw that as Israel attempted to strike Iran today, they had some success. But in the area of some facilities, the Iranian air defense has reconstituted itself, and Iran claims to have shot down 2 Israeli aircraft. So we have a trajectory of escalation that shows that things are getting worse for Israel, and Iran is starting to stabilize its capabilities. If this is an existential struggle between Iran and Israel, then Israel will have no choice but to escalate. How do you escalate? You escalate by striking Iranian leadership targets, or you escalate by striking Iranian energy targets, which would then prompt an Iranian escalation. I think Israel's goal right now, if this war, because I've always said that Israel doesn't have the ability to initiate and sustain a strike. They could always attack Iran, and they prove that. Israel's weakness is that they can't sustain these attacks. They can't run a campaign by themselves. And they failed to deliver the knockout blow. Iran has proven that. So now Israel's only choice is either to capitulate, which politically they can't do at this juncture, or to try and drag the United States in. And I think that's what you're going to be seeing from now on, is that Israel is going to make a concerted effort to get the United States to become directly involved in this attack. Iran's job right now is to focus its effort on limiting this war to Israel and delivering punishing blows against Israel. And then as Israel has shown, the fact that it's not invincible, to allow Russia and China the opportunity to intervene diplomatically and bring this thing to an end. Nobody's talking about the role played by Russia and China here. We are looking at a situation where the United States and Israel is attempting to pick off and eliminate an important ally of both nations. And if they allow Iran to be pulled away, this speaks volumes, and it's not good for Russia. Who signed a strategic framework agreement on January 17th. Iran has stepped up to the plate to help Russia. And if Russia is seen as standing by idly while Israel and the United States achieve regime change, this is not a good thing. The same thing with China. The other thing is China needs to send a signal, too, that what goes around comes around. And if the United States actually thinks that it can go and pluck off an important Chinese ally like Iran, then maybe it's time China demonstrate that they can pluck off an important American ally like Taiwan. A couple years ago, we were talking about, oh my God, a war in Ukraine. But, we can't conceive of the war expanding to Iran, and we could never conceive of the war expanding to Taiwan. I think today all bets are off. And if this conflict in Iran is not resolved soon, you are looking at the real potential of a spin-off conflict between China and Taiwan in the not too distant future, because China cannot allow the United States to go around, and neither can Russia, to pluck off important allies like Iran.
I don't know if you just heard that, but that was thunder when you said that. So you've been punctuated by the gods.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Literally the moment you said that.
Yeah.
Thunder struck outside.
All right. Thank you so much,
God is
Scott.
on my
Thank you for your
side.
time.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks I know you got a crazy day. I appreciate it. Thanks, Scott.